My name's Alan Critchley. I'm an independent safeguarding adult review writer, and I'm going to talk to you about Harvey, not his real name. Harvey was a white British man, aged 46, when he died in early January 2023 at his home. The coroner ruled that his death was due to severe alcoholic liver disease. Now, the reason for this review is that it's thought that services could have been better coordinated to support Harvey in the months prior to his death. His history of alcoholism and suicidal ideation had been known to agencies since 2015. He said it followed the breakdown of a long-term relationship, though other evidence suggests that the alcoholism and mental ill health issues were fairly entrenched by that stage. Agency information notes that Harvey had a transient lifestyle. This seems to have amounted to no more than moving between East London and Kent. However, due to this, there was a suggestion of a lack of coherence and consistency in those agencies that worked with Harvey. In itself, that's not a critical comment. It's hard to work with people who move area. The question for this review is whether more could have been done. From September 22, Harvey's health appeared to be deteriorating significantly and rapidly. Each admission to hospital at that point was seen from the record as being a standalone admission. There could have been a revised approach, acknowledging that he was a frequent attender. The recommendation that someone is classified as a frequent attender is if they have 5 attendances in a year. On that basis, Harvey would have been recognised as a frequent attender in August 22, slightly before the significant deterioration was noted. Actions might have included, at that stage, a multidisciplinary meeting and could have covered such aspects as the interplay between his physical and mental ill health, including his epilepsy. The epilepsy was potentially from an acquired brain injury in 2014. Harvey also had COPD, and the planning, if he had been recognised as a frequent attender, the planning could have brought together the physical issues, the mental ill health, the alcohol dependence, and come up with some planning so that Harvey could have been either treated differently when he came in for each admission or treated better in the community. They'll say a bit more about that later. More importantly, it would have provided an overall plan which might have been effective in supporting Harvey. Now, during his time in Kent, Harvey wasn't registered with a GP. Help could and should have been provided to ensure that he was. This would have ensured that there was an opportunity for follow-up when Harvey was discharged from hospital, and that's the problem that I alluded to before. With no GP in the community, any planning from hospital would have been difficult to pass on to those working with him in the community. There's guidance coming out fairly shortly from the Safeguarding Adult Board about the importance of assisting homeless and other people in registering with a GP. And whilst it's highly advisable that a person should have a GP, there's no legal requirement to do so. Those working with a person with no registered GP are encouraged to do their best to understand any blocks to registering and to help to overcome these. In the written versions of this review on Harvey, there's some guidance from NHS England which you can reference about best practice in registering with a GP. Now, the recommendations that I've made from this review are, number 1, about frequent attenders and how frequent attenders are supported. And I'm pleased to say that there's a high-intensity use project which is being rolled out across Kent, which will support high-intensity use people like Harvey, and would give them a lead worker who would support them in the planning when they're discharged from hospital. The hope is that it will reduce the number of attendances at A&E and will provide greater support in the community. So the high intensity use project is something that I think will be helpful. The second recommendation is about capacity, and that when a capacity review is undertaken, the person's dependency upon alcohol should be considered within that. So a more complex capacity assessment at some point for someone who's dependent on alcohol. The third recommendation is about GP registration and doing all that one can to ensure that people are registered with a GP, so there is somewhere for hospital notes and plans to go to. And as I say, please do look at the written versions of this review to see the notes from NHS England on that. And my final recommendation is about mental health. And that's for relevant constituent agencies of the Safeguarding Adult Board for Kent and Medway to understand the interface between the Mental Capacity Act and the Mental Health Act and clarify when each should be used. That's linked into the work that the Safeguarding Adult Board is doing on legal literacy, which aims to clarify when the Mental Capacity Act applies and when the Mental Health Act applies. So thank you for listening to me. Please do look at both the review. There's the learning review and the full review for more information on Harvey. But my thanks.